Darkness is coming. Darkness is coming where no man can work. Darkness is coming where no man can work. It's time for us to get our lives right with God. It's time for us to fulfill the Great Commission. It's time for us to drop politics, which is not going to help anybody. People get so offended these days. We say anything that is against their own belief. God is not for war. God is calling the nations to peace. You know, the nations go to war, friends, and we are propagandized. We are propagandized. There is such a fog of propaganda today that we are led to believe in certain narratives. Do you really believe the Western nations go to war for the benefit of mankind? There may be benefits, friends, for people, and we rejoice. We rejoice for the people of nations who are set free as a result of military intervention. But friends, that isn't the purpose of why these nations go in. They give us the propaganda. They give us the narrative so that we believe that they are the good guys. They are the good guys. Let us not be deceived, friends, and think that the Western governments, let us not believe that Western politics, they are the good guys and the others are the bad guys. Let's not believe, friends, that the axis of evil is always over there and it's never over here. There's a very good reason, friends, why Arab nations call us and the States in the past the great Satan and the little Satan. And we have gone in, our nations have gone in and have manipulated governments, have torn down governments, have installed leaders, destroyed places like Iraq, for example, where there is now very limited, if not no, Christian presence. And there was, friends, since Christ, there was a Christian presence. And we get told that these leaders are evil, and I'm not saying they're anything less necessarily than that, but all leaders are wicked. All leaders have gone astray and have turned to their own way. We need to be very careful, friends, that people don't use the name of God, to convince us that they are doing righteously and actually doing God's work. God's work. We know the story of Iraq, don't we, and the so-called weapons of mass destruction that were never found. Do we honestly believe that Iran is ready to send a nuclear bomb? They've been talking about it for years, friends, going into these nations, Syria, Libya, Iraq, all of these nations, friends. I don't know, maybe this video will be shadow banned because of the content. I pray it won't be, friends, because I think it's time for us to remember and not forget and not be sucked in by the narrative. Let's not be sucked in by right-wing politics, friends. We are very, very sure we don't want to be sucked in by left-wing politics, but we can be sucked in just as much, friends, by the right wing and believing that what they're doing is good. The effects of what some of these things do can be good, and I don't deny that. I don't deny that, friends. But really, we have to be careful that we don't get deceived, that we don't start to believe that God is the one that's instigating these things. And Jesus is going to come back, friends, and he is going to be the one who puts an end to all of the evil, all of the war, all of the trouble. And we can pray that good things come out of these interventions, but let us not imagine that the actual intervention has a pure motive. It never has a pure motive, friends. They tell us one thing, to get us on the side, to get us on their side so that there is not a protest, so that they can do the things that they want to do. You know, let us not believe the axis of evil is just over there. Let us not just believe that Putin is the evil boogeyman, or Iran, or all these other countries. Let us remember, friends, that all of us have sinned. All the leaders have fallen short of God's standards and glory. And the Western nations, friends, there is an incredibly, almost impossible to believe satanic gathering of leaders. They meet together in places like the redwood forests of San Francisco, for example, Bohemian Grove. And they get up to all kinds of wickedness, the promotion of care and all of these things, friends, where they do wickedly, and leaders do things that are wicked and put them into positions where they are forced into doing things lest they be exposed. That's what the whole Epstein thing is about. So they have to do what their controllers tell them, otherwise they will be exposed. Which is why the Epstein files, friends, they're not really coming out with much information, are they? They're very careful, dribbling it here and there and using Andrew as the he's like one of the only ones that seems to be going down at the moment. Mandelson has been questioned, but there's so many, friends. Billy Boy, so many. Fauci. That's just two of hundreds of names that I could list here, but definitely my video would be shadow banned. Let's not have blood on our hands, friends. When we stand before God at the end, we don't want to have blood on our hands because we praised those who went in and lied to us. They lied to us. You know, Tony Blair, who, by the way, has attended Bohemian Grove, on the record for attending Bohemian Grove, said there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. They were never found, friends. They went in and they bombed that. They bombed that country. They destroyed that. Saddam Hussein, he actually made sure that the Christians were okay. They were quite safe under Saddam Hussein. So for whatever evil he perpetrated, and I don't deny that he did do evil, Christianity was allowed to exist in Iraq. And Christmas trees, you know, they could celebrate Christmas and buy Christmas trees. So they were not against Christianity as some of these Arab nations are. Libya, Gaddafi, what an evil situation where he was humiliated in a terrible way and killed, really, and caught on live television and blood on his. It was terrible, friends, and I cry out to the Lord. You know, Hillary Clinton, she laughed at that. She laughed. You know, let's not imagine, friends, people like Bin Laden, they were used as the boogeyman, the man behind 9/11. So many questions about 9/11, friends, but not only 9/11. So many questions about all kinds of things that have happened. We know that the Arab uprisings, for example, historically have been MI6, CIA, covert operations to destabilise. They bus in protesters, friends, bus in protesters so that they can depose leaders. Think about Ukraine and the democratically elected leader there who was deposed so that they could join, they could install an EU puppet into Ukraine and then move towards becoming part of the EU and part of NATO. And nobody talks about that in the news. Only everybody talks about Putin on the offensive, but that was a security threat to Russia, and having NATO on its borders was against that treaty that they wrote up. I forget the treaty now, but I'm not saying that Putin is the good guy. I'm just saying that they're all the bad guys. They're all the bad guys, and the only good guys are the populations, are the civilians, the citizens. Let's remember, friends, that we are not fighting against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. And it is the principalities and powers, as in the book of Revelation, that draw politicians to go to war. Draw politicians to go to war. It's all in the Bible, friends. But darkness is coming. Darkness is coming. And it's time for Christians everywhere to wake up and get ready. To not get so sucked in to politics and start believing the lies and start believing that there are righteous politicians that are working for God, that are fulfilling prophecy. I mean, there are, but not good prophecy. For example, Pete Hegseth under Donald Trump, he actually talked about building the third temple as a result of war. As a result of war in the Middle East, they would be able to build the third temple. Some Christians are even wanting the third temple to be built. Why, I ask myself? It will be the home of the Antichrist. It will be where the Antichrist sets up his throne and proclaims himself to be God. That won't be a literal proclamation, friends. That will be, and the people will worship the Antichrist. But let's not imagine it's like worshipping as we worship the Lord, or in religion where people worship Allah or whatever. It will be a kind of adulation that people give, for example, Donald Trump, the church that they worship, the ground that he walks on. And it will be that kind of adulation. The kind that says he's working for God, he is God's man for the hour. Let us not be deceived, friends. I know much good has come out of some of these leaders in pushing back woke ideology, but that's how they get us on their side. That is how they get us on our side, where we say, this is good, this is good. But have you noticed that even people like Elon Musk, we say, wow, this is good, he's on the side of those who are patriots, those who are calling for our nation to return back to its Christian roots. Elon Musk, friends, he wants a robot in every home. He's at the forefront of the AI race, which is not going in a good direction. Even he said some years ago that it's dangerous. AI is dangerous, and it is, friends. AI is dangerous. You know, people have committed suicide because some of these AI programs have told them to do it. People are trusting in AI. They are trusting in AI, and they are listening to the words that they say as though it is God. What shall I do about this situation? What shall I do about that situation? Friends, let us not trust in AI, because there is a spirit attached to it, and the fullness of AI, a spirit will embody it, and people will be desperately deceived. You know, Harari, the homosexual who uh, is often seen at the World Economic Forum and has wrote many books. He says that in the near future, or in the future, AI will create a religion, and the people will serve that religion. They won't need the Bible, they won't need the Quran, they won't need all these books, and they will serve and worship AI, artificial intelligence. Is that part of the beast system that the book of Revelation talks about? Well, I'm not going to categorically say yes, because we don't know when Jesus is coming back. Jesus might come back, friends, before all of this rot is accomplished, because the globalists, friends, the elite, are working around the clock to fulfill Bible prophecy, to build the third temple. You know, the third temple, friends, is not going to be like the temples before it for the Jews. It is going to be a house of peace for all nations, and it will be like the Abrahamic houses that exist in places like Germany. And it will be a place where all religions can converge and go. It will be an abomination, and no wonder someone, most likely a politician, will set himself up in that temple, will have an office, maybe. You know, Tony Blair, he wanted to, in fact, he claimed for some bizarre reason that he lived in Jerusalem when he signed one of their books there, that he was a resident of Jerusalem. And he wanted to build a mansion on the Hill of Evil Counsel, which overlooks the Temple Mount and the Dome of the Rock and the Al-Aqsa Mosque. And who knows what is going to happen? Will there be an earthquake at the Al-Aqsa Mosque? We don't know. What is going to happen? How are they going to shut down the Muslim prayers up there? How are they going to shut down the Al-Aqsa Mosque? Is it going to bring a global war? Is it going to bring? It's certainly going to bring a Middle East war. And they recently shut down, didn't they, the Temple Mount? We don't know. The Israel has jurisdiction over the Temple Mount. They own it, but they allow it. They've given it over to the Arabs to use, and there's a lot of trouble there. I went there myself, and you look outside, so many riot shields, because there's often a disturbance there. In fact, when we went up there, there was a disturbance, and the Muslims were shouting at the Jewish rabbis that were up there praying. And you're not allowed to pray, you're not allowed to take a Bible. I was stopped from going in because I had a Bible, and I had to go and put it away before I could get in, and it was treated like something very dangerous, like a weapon, the way she looked at me. And it is a weapon, of course. It is a weapon. Hallelujah. So where are we going, friends? Where are we going? Where are we heading? It looks like we're heading in that direction, where Jesus is going to come back. Maybe he's going to come back sooner than we realise. I hope it's in my lifetime, friends. I hope that I don't have to see death and I'll be caught up in the clouds while I'm preaching the gospel. We're going to see a lot of Muslims born again, set free, delivered, and preaching the gospel across the UK. So don't be disheartened by what you see with the influx of Islam, because God has a plan, he has a purpose, and it goes far beyond what any of us can do. There will be a moment when God will really deliver many Muslims, and they will have the boldness to go and preach in the face of death, because of what they preach. But they will, yeah, it's going to be amazing, friends. It's going to be amazing. So don't be disheartened. God has a plan. He will turn everything around for good. So let's not get caught up, friends, in the political narrative. Let's get caught up in God, because I've noticed that people get offended. I can say a little thing, like, for example, the war in Iran is not good, and somebody will get offended. Somebody will get offended with me. That's because their heart is not on Christ. the heart is on natural things, on political things. So friends, let us have a heart for God. Let us not be deceived. Let us not be looking for the Antichrist. Is he under this rock? Is he under that rock? Is it him? Is it her? Let's be searching for Christ. Let's be looking towards Christ, and let's preach the glorious gospel. Let's preach the glorious gospel. And in the end, friends, in the end, God will say, well done. You didn't get distracted. You didn't lose your focus. You kept your eyes on the one who died for you. Don't keep your eyes on who could be the next Antichrist. Don't keep your eyes on all the evil that's happening. But focus on the Lord. Focus on the Lord Jesus Christ. Because we really need to in these days. A really big God bless you, friends. Love you always. I'll speak to you again. Long time.